How's it? Yeah, you got three. Yeah, you got about 3 minutes to speak.
Okay, thank you very much.
No worries at all.
Thank you. Just a couple of things. Tony I did get in touch with him over email regarding the state of the planters in the borough. And the graffiti in Tabernacle Lane was the other issue. But the other thing that's sort of banging on is the state of the traffic in St Michael's Avenue and traffic speed. I have been to another meeting of the Yeovil Without. Councillor Kendall was very helpful at that time. But the issue goes on and on. I wasn't thinking of coming, but this morning 2 cars went down the road, the best part of 50 miles an hour, down the narrow section between Grass Royal and Rosebery Avenue. And it gets increasingly difficult. Cars on the pavement, 2 schools open up onto the avenue, care home, coming and going, crossing between cars. And the other issue seems to be getting worse is road rage. Parking the car behind you. The other week somebody got out of a car and threatened us because we were blocking the road trying to park the car. So that's the top and bottom of it. I know the council have put 20-mile-an-hour speed limit signs in, which seems to help a bit, but there are major issues because what I think it might happen is accident of some description. So that was the thing I was just trying to raise. I
appreciate that
or not, but
a couple of our councillors live on St Michael's, so we're fully aware and appreciate your
I don't know what the answer
is. No, I don't either, to be fair. I don't know whether this is the right committee for us to actually raise it, but I think we can pass the information on to resident bodies that possibly may be able to make some. I mean, Tony's the better person because he actually campaigned for a lot of stuff up the top a long time ago.
Thanks.
Tony might know the other people to actually know, but is there anything we can actually do for that email wise from this committee? Or
we can make a comment on the first 2 points. Definitely at this committee. So just Tabernacle Lane, I walked past there this morning, came and saw me in the office, and I believe that they have attempted to cover it. Somerset Council, that is. But regards to the planters in the town centre, some new information's come in that I didn't know when I first spoke to you.
So there's a mix of Somerset Council and Yeovil Town Council planters in there. I'm just in dialogue with the town centre manager at the moment so that we take over the management of the Somerset Council ones, which are the ones that are dead because they let down the look of the centre. And so that is in hand. Just give us a couple of more weeks, please.
Yeah, I know seasonality is always a problem.
And we are literally at the point of change from it now. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Very good, thanks.
Are you happy with the answers you get? Or do you want us to reply in writing to you?
It's fine.
Yeah, Andy.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to ask a question of the officer in relation to the plants in the centre of town. Does that include the ones in Newton Road as well, Katie?
We need to go now.
All of them.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Chairman, I know we can't have debate on public comment, but just to clarify, I just went out and had a look in Tabernacle Lane. No graffiti has been removed at all from the walls.
Okay, Tony, thank you.
Yeah.
Moving on, I think we can carry on with the other couple of things before Amanda gets back anyway. Nobody online, is it? Right, 11 Bleak 317. I'll start getting words out in a minute. Apologies for absence to consider the reasons why. Have we no apologies?
Yes, Chair. So we've got apologies from Councillor Tara Casey. He's got work commitments.
Okay, everybody accept? Thank you. Moving on, 11 Bleak 318, declarations of interest. Anybody any declarations of interest at all? Nope. Thank you. 11-319 minutes. To approve the correct record of minutes from the meeting held on the 12th of March 2026 and the 12th of May 2026. Everybody happy to accept?
Agree.
I don't know if I attended them, but if I okay still to sign it.
Yeah, because you are here.
Yeah.
I just need to find the 12 with names on. I'm going to bring them out. I don't have
it. Date that as well.
Yeah.
Date, isn't it? You haven't got the other one. Next time.
Sorry.
Went through the boring bits where you're at.
Right.
11 Bleak 320, co-option of a non-voting member to receive nominations and co-opt a non-member of the committee to represent the allotment tenants. Actually,
Committee nominate.
do we have any nominations?
Nominate Dave.
We have a seconder.
Happy.
Yeah, so I think it was Andy nominated. Carl second.
As long as Dave's happy to continue doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right.
Failing any other nominations? Can we see a show of hands for Dave? That's unanimous. Welcome, Dave, again. Voiding is not too long. 11 3 2 1, feedback from co-opted non-member.
Really hate.
I expect you got a bit, it's been a while, hasn't it? So, yeah.
Not a great amount, it's easy. Some of my concerns are being brought up later in your agenda anyway.
Okay.
I'm gonna start with locks. Some of my personal opinion, right? I mentioned on Monday, 12th of January meeting, that Sweet Locks would be saying 30 titanium locks could be purchased for £230. They don't have interchangeable keys, but could have saved a vast amount of money. The only drawback is council personnel to carry 11 keys. I'm just reiterating what I said after what's happened now at Milford Dip.
Yeah.
Thanks on the locks. I know that's bringing it later on. Right, moving on. I read large number of Milford Dip tenants have signed a letter concerning security on their site with reference to CCTV. When I approached the council about 2 years ago about CCTV, I was informed this isn't allowed on the site. So they go very careful when you come to that section in your agenda. Because I was told it wasn't allowed. Just to ruin you that, right? That's out of the way. Right, moving on, and they do work bloody hard. I understand the grounds team are only allocated 1 day per week on allotment work, with other work taking priority. The question is, how much revenue does the open spaces and parks generate compared to what would be generated if the allotments were cleaned or let? You know, it just seems that the allotments at the moment, and I do all 11 sites, some of them are like jungles, you lose a tiger in the grass. That's how bad it is. And just a matter of interest, how many sites and plots on them have been cleaned and rotated, and which ones? Which sites have actually had their sites stripped and cultivated? Because I've only found one site at the moment, and that's Milford Dip. And I'm concerned because, you know, well, your councillor on the end knows exactly what our site's like, the grass opposite you. You could lose an elephant there, not a tiger, can you? And it's that bad. It is really bad. And people walk through. It's no point trying to let a plot. They walk down through there and say, what's available? I show them. And they say, well, we can't take that on. And the grass is 4 or 5 foot high. You know what I mean? And I don't think you've got enough manpower in your team to cover everything you're trying to do. You've got the Old Warm Bloom you're working on. You've got the St. John's you're trying to clean up. And I don't think you've got enough manpower there to do it all. And I'm just thinking you're losing a hell of a lot of revenue because it isn't done. I'm not asking you to make it a priority. I'm just making the fact that you are losing a hell of a lot of revenue. Last year, I think in January, I think it was over 2,700 pounds. According to my paperwork, just where me. So, you know, apart from that, that's me finishing the vote.
Okay. Is this, I know it's not really a discussion, it's just a report, but is this in, had this time and time again about unlet plots, etc. Are they cultivated before they are relet, or is that down to the owner?
They were going to be, weren't they?
They are.
Well, all right, okay.
And obviously, as like you said about the time factors of getting all this done, is it being done as?
It is being done.
I know everybody's busy and we, as he said, we got a lot going on.
Allotment maintenance is to an acceptable standard. I'm not saying it's exceptional. I'm saying it's acceptable. If we want to do more, that's a question for the committee.
I'd like to know where it's being done.
We don't have enough, David's right, we do not have enough resource to do more. You know, we are very thinly spread. I would say that the open spaces of this town serve many, many thousands of people.
They do. We pay council tax the same as the rest of them do.
And that's why we need to look after those open spaces.
We're also paying for our plots as well, which are paying charge for, so we're paying double.
Can we stop it here rather than a debate? I'll come to Amanda in a second. Can we just put this as an agenda item for future meetings so we can have a discussion on it, please?
Yeah, so what vacant plots, just clarification.
Yeah, just clarification, what, how and where and what we can do. We need to, and we have this time and time again and we just waste, not being rude, but
Wasting my time, I'll tell you that.
I'm going over it every time, but if we have that as an agenda item, perhaps we can dig into it a little bit more and see if there's anything we can do. Amanda?
So when we're working out the cost of the rent per square metre, we take into account the amount of officers' time that's being used on it. The problem is, if you want more resources, then that will mean that the cost to the allotment holders will go up as well.
Exactly, and that's the problem.
I don't think that the extra revenue that you think is coming in will be enough to promote the
So that's the problem. This is the problem. You're taking away the skips. We're paying for water now. We got hardly any maintenance being done on the sites at all. They're in a bloody abysmal state. I'm sorry, but I'm just saying how it is. And you walk down, the rest of the sites are the same, except for Milford Dip, which is always kept clean. You walk down through my site and it's like a bloody jungle. And people come to me, they say, what sites are available? Well, that is, and they look at it, they don't want to know. They'll to walk on. So that's £150 lost straight away for a plot. And there's more than one plot down there. I mean, there's about 5 plots, like Lucy will tell you, that are vacant down there. But they're just a mess, absolute bloody mess.
And then we're going to move.
It's just my site.
So as Katie has already said, we do rotivate and clear back any plot.
Where?
They have been clearing.
Tell me where.
I can't immediately, but we can come back
Tell
to
me
you.
where. Milford Dip was the first one. They had 2 done up there. Apart from that, I don't know that. Was yours been done?
Sorry, if I could finish.
Dave?
To debate some,
Yeah.
and somebody left it.
You got one done at yours as well. That's 3.
I may
Yeah.
finish. So I think the message I'm trying to give you is if you do have people interested in the plot, then you need to communicate to them that before they take it on, we will put it into a state that is for them to use, and obviously showing them the plot.
That's if I see them. If Lucy gives out,
But then Lucy has that conversation
Yeah, well-
with the person.
I give out your telephone number every
I've
time.
got a problem with that. If the ones I see them, but I can't tell them. So Lucy will have to tell them if they want to take on a plot that they'll have it rotivated and clean. I'd agree with that. I'd be 100%.
And she does.
Yeah.
I got Andy first and then Dave.
Okay, I mean, we've got a list here of plots that are let, daytime splits. And I see there's some notes underneath, green split optional plots to accommodate demands. And if they're on that, we've got Article 32, I'd like to understand that. Red, retirement property to location, unable to grow anything for some time. And we got 24 there, however, saying that.
Sorry, I think you're reading it wrong. Sorry, I
That's
don't
my
think.
fault.
Okay, sorry.
But we have 100% occupancy in 1, 2, 3, 6 sites. We have 95% or plus in 3 other sites. So we're looking at Sunningdale and Elizabeth Flats, which are one is at 91%, Elizabeth Flats is at 68%. So could that be explained to me in
Should we get to that when we get onto the item on that one, or do you want the explanation of this?
I think it could be relevant to what we're talking about.
Okay.
Well, I'm happy to wait until then.
Yep, you answer the question.
Yeah, of
now,
course.
and then-
Elizabeth Flats, we had another antisocial event take place with the estates team not so long ago. So we're still exploring. That site is problematic constantly. We are in talks with PCSOs and Avery. It's the same tenant resident causing those antisocial behaviours. So yes, it's not my first site I offer out to people because of those problems. And Sunningdale, we always have problems with the numbers 1 to 10 at Sunningdale because it gets waterlogged down that bottom. So people prefer being at the top. But actually we've had 2 really good tenants down the bottom recently that have taken on plots. And they've made really good changes down there. So Sunningdale will be a bit lower. It is our biggest site.
Okay.
But regards to, sorry, the red, That is only one plot we've lost, not 24 plots.
Right.
So yeah, that is just the ones I've highlighted in green and red are the changes. So you'll see Larkhill.
Yeah. Okay, that's, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, it's not very
Okay.
clear.
That's fine, I'll get it now.
Thank you, Lucy.
But just so you know, like today, I've issued 3 notice to quits because people aren't working them, but I've offered out 4 plots, so it's a constant circle going round.
Thank you, Lucy.
Yeah, but you
Dave, then we must do this, on set, Dave.
Clean.
Dave.
Thank you, Chair. Just go back to the condition of the plot before new tenants come on. Is that precondition that we'll restore it to, should we say, working order before the new tenant comes on, promoted on the website? Is it in the public domain?
No, I haven't advertised it. And it may be something if the committee want me to advertise it.
Yeah.
When I send the letters out, then I can.
Yeah.
And sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt, but we can't do it early
No.
because then you just go back and do it again.
Yeah.
So when we get to the report, you'll see the way we're now logging stuff on Parish Online. So Lucy will say it's a vacant plot. We're aware of that. Lucy will notify us when it's about to be occupied, and that's when the estates team will go through and clear it, because otherwise it just grows again.
Agree, yeah.
Okay, failing any more, appreciate your feedback, Dave. We will try and bring,
I'm sorry it's negative, but.
no, that's fine. You say it as it is. We got,
Talk to all.
we'll look into it, and as I said, we'll bring that so we can thrash it out one other meeting so we can have a little bit more in-depth conversation, okay? Moving on, 11 oblique 322, annual allotment report, consider report by director and environment attached, page 6 to 9.
Thank you, Chair. So we decided that it was time to bring an overview of allotments after a year with the estates team. And what I have done is included some compliments in this report, because so much of the time, all we hear is complaints as officers and members. And I felt that it was time that you actually saw some of the written compliments came in. I've done that throughout the reports in this committee. And so if it's in italics, it's something that's come in from either a tenant or a member of the public. So despite some issues with machinery and storage of machinery, maintenance is now in hand and is up to a reasonable standard. I know it's not making everybody happy. We're doing the best we can and we're still bedding in. We're actually changing machinery as we're getting to grips with what we need on which sites. The approach to vacant plots is going down really, really well. And we've had a number of thank yous from new tenants that have come along and started with us. Various tree works have taken place and there will be more happening this coming winter. And there's a lot of boundary work that is required because that was something that wasn't dealt with over the past few years, which means hedges and fences all need looking at in the winter outside of bird nesting season. In terms of the funded allotments for all project, we would really like to, or the estates team would really like to express their thanks to the sites that came together to help with the rubbish clearances. On a number of the sites, there was a real concerted effort from tenants to support the estates team. And that was a really nice, team building's not the right term, but it was a really nice joint effort and helped everyone get to know each other. The community allotment plots that have been provided with the allotments for all project are also now going well after a slow start. And I didn't have this before I wrote the committee report, but we have so much planted and I'm absolutely loving it. It's definitely what I needed, a piece of time. The kids have been helping and enjoying it all so much. We are so thankful. And there's, you know, another 2 or 3 like that from the community allotment holders, plot holders that are really benefiting from having this trial summer. There's more coming this autumn and the Parks Engagement Officer is launching the gardening show and there should be the first newsletter going out at the end of this week. We're just signing that off this week and that should be emailed out to all tenants that we have an email address for. We've looked at the occupation table and occupancy of plots has increased. From 92 last May to 95% this year. It's a positive trend. So we are heading in the right direction. And as Lucy already said, we know that the site at Elizabeth Flats is an issue, but that's not something we're going to solve without bringing some decisions to committee on what we do at that site overall. We continue to shift to digital records, with most sites now plotted and on Parish Online, providing a central resource just for staff. This isn't available to the public, it's confidential. All the plots are now on and tenancy agreements are uploaded. And so when a plot becomes vacant, that's where it's marked. And that means that the estates team know where they're going, know which plots they're going to look at. And Lucy knows she can flag it when she wants someone to go and give a plot attention. And I think the final thing to say is that just finally all sites now do have tenant reps. Thank you, Chair.
That's brilliant. That's a great report, and there is positives in there. And yeah, it's moving forward, I think, from before we had these reports, isn't it? So just noting that report, everybody happy?
Thank you, Chair. I think you ought to say thank you to Lucy, because if you think about 3, 4, 5 years ago, when we were putting her under pressure about the amount of vacant plots and the amount of work that's being done, you've seen why this percentage is going up. I mean, seeing 100% is phenomenal in my case.
Yeah.
We understand the problems, but we've not been going through it now. We've got that over the years, but it's phenomenal, really.
Yeah, we do appreciate the work that's been done, Lucy. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy.
Moving on, 11 oblique 323, Milford Dip allotment break-ins to consider a report by the Deputy Town Clerk attached at pages 10 to 11. This shocked me as well. So yeah, moving over.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So I wanted to bring this to your attention. Milford Dip allotment site, the community down there have been targeted a few times recently. This isn't the first, and I don't believe it'll probably be the last. And I wanted to bring to your attention the letter that they wrote to the council, and I wanted you to discuss it as there's a request in there. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know what the answer is, and I've explained that to the tenants. You know, the padlock was cut. It makes no sense. There was a really old chain on the gate, so why they didn't cut that rather than the padlock? It looked.
Padlock was softer than the chain.
Pardon?
Padlock was softer. I've seen the padlock. The material of the padlock was softer than the chain.
Okay.
Simple as that.
Okay.
So
I mean, hard and half.
one of the sheds which had double padlocks on, very secure. They the shed was still broken into because they cut a hole in the shed. So yeah, obviously we do try and tell the tenants not to leave anything of value there. But their argument is, why shouldn't they be able to keep their rotavators and items there? So
what has actually, from the chair, I'll pass it out to the floor, what has actually been stolen, is it?
there's how
Right,
many?
On 2 occasions, 2 rotavators on the last occasion, 1 rotavator before. That was without the lock being cut. So
Okay.
a total of 3 rotavators.
right, moving on, I got to note the report, we note, but obviously we got to work some thing on this, to consider what action, if any, to take, and the Deputy Town Clerk communicate the outcome to the tenants of the Milford Dip. So over to you guys. Anybody, any feedback from this at all? Go on, Dave.
The solar powered security cameras are in the report. And what about those? Consider those?
Because I asked about security cameras 2 years ago for Gornap because we had a lot of break-ins down there. We were told we couldn't have them, and then you're not even allowed to have the security cameras apparently on your compound down there either. That was all the security cameras were taken away. And they were taken away about 5 years ago because you had security cameras there. So I don't know what our answer is.
No.
Of course, it's going to be Milford Dip gets security cameras, nobody else does.
I don't have a response to that per se, but there is a designing out crime officer at Avon and Somerset Police who is really helpful. I've spoken to him on a number of occasions about a number of sites, and I'm very happy to make contact with him to see if he would be prepared to come and do a site visit and give us any professional advice.
Yeah.
But just coming in quickly, what I can't understand is that I just think being a
Dave.
council property, that the security cameras should be on your shed down at Gornap, because you've got the new fence put up there, right? You've got all the burglar alarms set up there now, you've got no security cameras. You know what I mean? I'm not saying cover the site, I'm saying cover your council property. which would make sense really.
We are aware of it. It is in,
Yeah,
thank you. Yeah,
You've had a lot of trouble when people in there and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
thank you.
Andy,
I don't know what the complexities are of not being able to have CCTV cameras down there. But actually, residents can install a road. And there are some very, very good small security cameras on the market, which actually transmit straight to your phone, no SIM card. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know. I've got one, legal or not, I've got one, and it's on the site. It's on what the council say. My site's been attacked so many times, my plot has, I'll put me on a security camera.
Dave, I know this is all discussion, but can we have gist of the committee members and then we'll come back to you?
Nothing else to say, so.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Lucy's just got something here to read out.
So I went to a legal advisor at the National Allotment Society, and I got some information regarding CCTV. It's not something I'm confident with. So he said, we typically advise that it's best for allotment committees with the agreement from the plot holders or local authorities to arrange the CCTV for the full site, so not individual tenants, because we can then control it. Next, we suggest that you may wish to consider dummy cameras and relevant signage. Perhaps with the fake CCTV acting as a deterrent, that may be enough to reduce the risk of theft. If you do look to install real CCTV, we advise the camera's viewing angles must be limited to the site only. So it's not saying we can't have CCTV, but it is quite a project to install this CCTV. Finally, we strongly advise committees and local authorities that are considering CCTV to check over the information available of the ICO.
Everybody has got that?
So as the data protection officer, that would have to be reviewed really carefully, because obviously that's data that you're collecting, and also in terms of the coverage of that, it can only be on your property. If you fall afoul of catching somebody down the road, then that would be seen as an infringement of someone's human rights. So if that was something that you did, you would have to do that very carefully. And the council will need to bear in mind that that is more information that the council has and more information that me as the data controller or whoever else helps has to be looking at and to control. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but also when you think about the numbers of times that the CCTV isn't clear enough because someone's come in all dressed up, so you would never be able to identify them. So I think we just need to think about the cost, and it needs to be proportional to what the loss is. As Lucy's already said, she suggested that people do not leave items of expense on their allotments. Again, I don't know what the answer is, but I just want to flag that could be a big GDPR project that would need to be worked on, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Tony?
I mean, seems strange that it's just the Milford Dip that's being targeted. And I did hear a couple of people saying, oh, it's because of the fences around there and everything else. And I've heard mentioned here about charges being put on for water and what have you. The thing is, it's we have to be very, very careful here. We provide a service by providing the land for residents who maybe haven't got a garden to grow produce for themselves if they so want. What they do on their plots is up to them and what they grow. But regarding the water, we was having some allotments having excessive use of water, just as an example. And there was hell of a hoo-ha when they started to charge for the usage of water on allotment plots. And it was meters and everything else like that. The same, I mean, the questions need to be asked. Why is it just Milford Dip which is being targeted? And why, as I say, we should, every taxpayer, we had it with the Obligan Theatre, but why should every taxpayer cough up for CCTV there, which could create a lot of problems? Because it's all right putting it in there, but what are you going to do about it when it's in there? That's a question you need to have. And I don't know what the answer is, but perhaps it all should ask the tenants up there. Why is it just your site which is being targeted? I don't know.
No. Andy?
I've got one question here and one statement. One question is, it says an interim measure, a temporary padlock has been installed while a replacement is on order. Is there a reason why the spare locks you've got are not up to scratch to put on there? Is this a risk we got?
They're allocated to other sites.
Pardon?
They're all allocated to other sites.
But you don't have no spare ones to go and snap
No,
in
no.
case of emergency, you have to order one?
Well, we have to order the security coded ones, yeah.
We're not just have one spare, please.
No.
Go on.
Yeah.
So obviously in reflect of this, there is a new padlock on and I now have a spare.
Are we gonna have to spare one in case something like this happens again, where we can just go and secure something?
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
I do have spare padlocks to secure it straight away anyway.
I mean, one that's fit for the purpose, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, that's that. Second one was the thing, just to back up what you said about this CCTV and to back you up as well in data, is when you fit a CCTV camera, not to view the perimeter, it means you have to dip it down. So generally, if you think about Milford allotments, you're going to dip it down to edge level, correct? So I'm not saying that gives a person the opportunity, or does give a person the opportunity to jump over and get dressed, as you say, and then go and do his doings. I'm just saying, fitting it into a public place is not always it's a good idea, but it's not always as easy as you think. It's not just put cameras there, you think going to catch everyone coming over. Amanda alluded to the fact that it's going to be not viewing public walking by, and unfortunately that's what we got there. So it's just something to think about.
Adrian?
Any other members before I speak? Because I'm not a member of this committee, just following the process. So as a council, our responsibility and our commitment must surely only be safe access and egress to that site. And in terms of security, in my mind, that is the access points to the site should be made safe points, but we cannot surely go down any road appreciating the position in terms of theft, but we cannot be responsible for the safety of other people's belongings. No. To that end, I think the whole point about CCTV is a good discussion. The reality is, as a council, are we going to do that? And if we are, what are those cameras going to maintain? Other people's belongings or our own? We should only be looking at our own assets, is my view. The second point is, if some incident did happen, personally, I've been a victim of crime in my own house where I had CCTV, and that went nowhere. So if we are really thinking about CCTV, the value of it in terms of a theft to an allotment shed, it's really not going to go anywhere. So whilst I do appreciate your position, I think our focus and our commitment should really only be access to the site. And I think we just need to make it clear to tenants that their possessions on that site are their responsibility.
100%. Yeah. Brilliant.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
You can't put a 20-foot high fence around there to try and keep people out. As I've heard said.
You've got to remember that most of the sites are accessible anyway.
Yeah.
It's really strange. It's always Milford Dickie.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Where there's other sites that are out of the way that people could break into and get away with it, but it's always Milford Dick, and I don't know why.
I was trying to say, I was making.
Again, so consider moving on to safety. No. I just need to stay away. Their possessions are on their site.
Makes you wonder if someone knows that there's high value items there and knows specifically where they are. It does sound like it could be targeted.
Somebody on site, can
Yeah.
Can we move on? Sorry, not to be rude. Note the report. We have consider what action, if any, to take. I think at this precise moment from the chair, I'm in almost agreement that there's no action to be taken at this present time. And the third, that the deputy town clerk communicate the outcome of 2 to tenants of Milford Dip. which I think Lucy's got something to similar what we need to write.
Yeah, so I get the conclusion that we sort of tell them their possessions are, they're responsible for their own possessions.
I mean, this is not, we're poo-pooing it and saying, I mean, obviously, we're PCSOs and there's other things we can, you know, inquire to see whether we can get more things done, and hopefully the lots of that things.
I think it's right what you said, they're responsible for their own property.
Yeah,
I know I've got little gators. They're not in my shed, they go home or down the garage, and I tell people down our site, don't value stuff in there.
To explain why we don't allow CCTV, do you want me to go, do you want me to explain to them?
But good
it would, yeah, Andy.
Yeah, this is the point I was trying to make earlier on, that, you know, we shouldn't be supplying CCTV.
No.
If they want to do that, they can do that at their own, their own actions, and that it's already been said. We're not responsible for their equipment.
And the cost of it would be phenomenal, because we're all involved in the CCTV. I know it's a different sort of thing, but for the town, you know how much things like that cost, and to set it up for fresh anyway. Jamie quickly, then Amanda.
I've just had a thought about obviously the issue regarding CCTV. Obviously, I understand our position that, you know, we don't want to invest in that at this time. However, could we potentially say to tenants, you know, if they wish to purchase their own CCTV to use on their plot, they have to follow strict rules and set that out in terms of the GDPR, because, you know, technically, if there's a breach of GDPR on our property, then the council could be in trouble. But we need to obviously make them aware that if they are going to do that, then they have to follow those strict rules.
Amanda.
There's a very fine line. If you begin giving permission for people to be putting cameras up, it could be seen that you could be the data controller for that information. And as Lucy's already alluded to, she sought advice, and it's advised that resident or tenants should not be putting up their CCTV. I think what we should be doing is ensuring that people take responsibility for their own items.
Yes.
Take them home, or if they're going to leave them there, the risk is it's again. So I, as the data protection officer, would offer caution to us.
Okay, thank you. Andy, then Tony, and then we're going to move on. We've closed it, really.
I mean, we shouldn't be seen doing anything there. We just make our position very, very clear in the letter that Lucy's going to write to the residents. Whatever precautions they take to do, that's entirely on their own shoulders, but we're not condoning or suggesting that they do anything whatsoever.
Okay. Tony, quickly.
It would be interesting if Lucy, in her own time, could maybe score poll of a couple of sites to find out what they do with their equipment, which are.
It's just a conversation with the site, isn't it, really?
We do all 11 sites, so I know most of the tenants, and a lot of them take their stuff home.
No.
You just heard that the answer's there, the tenant rep, they take it home.
No, Milford didn't leave most of the sites.
I think that's the answer.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, 11 oblique 324, service update. To consider report by Director of Leisure Environment, attached pages 12 to 16. I hope people read all these reports, because they are very, very good. Moving over to you.
It's your regular service update report, and again, anything in italics is compliments that have come in from our residents and site users. But in Bloom, the summer scheme is currently being installed across the town. So yeah, comments around things looking a bit tired is very true. We're on the move and doing that this week. We are making an appropriate shift to a more sustainable planting scheme. That's my word of caution for this summer. We have to start using perennials. We have to start using plants that don't require as much water. You know, it is the right thing to do. And everything will look wonderful, but you know, it's our responsibility as a council to lead by example and make sure that we are making that and building that resilience in the face of the changing climate. This week we'll also be planting in St John's a new wildlife themed bed with lots of interesting local things for you to spot. I will say no more other than please do visit no earlier than next week, because it is going in this week. And I'm absolutely delighted that this year we have had an increase of 8 It's Your Neighbourhood entries to the overall Yeovil in Bloom submission. And that is what we were after, that community engagement. You know, let's be a bit data driven here and say yes. So the work of the past year has worked, and more small community groups or organisations coming forward to be part of the In Bloom series. In terms of the open spaces, the shift in management approach at the open spaces continues to be well received. Team are doing their best to stay on top of management despite machinery issues that I've already mentioned. The bit is that it was difficult. I wrote this report at the beginning of that heatwave week, and I put the finer weather always brings an increase in antisocial behaviour. Just as a front-facing team, we're used to it. But what's been really good this past few weeks has been able to work with the community wardens on reporting, removing, and then ideally reducing future incidents in the future. And we're just trying to close that gap of making sure, and then the community wardens can go back and check and make sure that we're covering off all the bases and that residents are happy and that spaces are safe. We have had 2 traveller incursions already this year. I've given the details of the group of travellers that broke into Yew Tree, and to say that the extra bollards are going in this week, which means we will then be able to open the car park, and that will alleviate the pressures on the highway parking in that area. They did break in, they cut through 2 padlocks, which is how they got in. It wasn't that anything wasn't particularly well secured, they did break in. Just to lighten things up a bit, we are looking forward, and we're formulating some thoughts on how to best interpret some of the fantastic history and heritage that is across our open spaces. It's absolutely amazing. Roman villas, Bronze Age mounds up at Windham Hill, Preston Park, Sydney Gardens, Victorian Bandstand. You know, it's absolutely amazing. And so we're just pulling together ideas and talking to the Heritage Collection about the best way forward for making sure that people know about heritage and make, you know, some kind of walk or trail that brings together a timeline of history for our town. In terms of play, inspections are now digital, and we are making them, it enables to make sure that everything's recorded, saved, and escalations and procedures are really well handled, and we're doing that for the other parishes that we're looking after as well. Our estates manager is compiling the repair and maintenance and replacement works into a schedule so that items can be prioritised according to priority and available budget for play. And Milford Castle is the subject of a separate report because that is a biggie. Works that have already been completed, particularly things like the line marking, the court markings at Yew Tree and Milford, have gone down really, really well, and we've had some nice compliments from different ages of the community. At the Country Park, it's been really busy with events, and we started the first year of a series of free citizen science and biodiversity events that have gone really well. And you've got a nice comment about a bird survey that someone attended at 1 o'clock in the morning, so it must have been good. In there, just to let you know that over 1,000 volunteer days have been donated since last July, which is an absolutely astonishing number. And it's safe to say that volunteers and the management and maintenance that they carry out with and for us is absolutely integral to the management of a park. And some of the groups we work with, like Able to Achieve and the Rivers Trust, are pivotal into what we deliver. At Yeovil Recreation Centre, the floodlight replacement scheme is progressing. We anticipate an outcome on planning around the 22nd of June is what's on the planning portal. Once we have the outcome of the planning application, then we'll be able to progress, hopefully. And the second Festival of Sport is due to be delivered in 2 weekends' time. Athletics started in late March and feedback has been really good. And I'll put a couple of the comments in the report for you so you can see what attendees are saying. And then unfortunately I had to update this report at the very last minute as there was the traveller incursion on the bank holiday Monday at the end of May. It was handled really swiftly, thanks to both the police and Somerset Council, who did come together really quickly on the Tuesday morning to make sure that things happened. but some extra suggested works are required to further protect the site. And this relates to the supplementary update that was provided at the end of last week. There is a recommendation on this occasion to allow dispensation from financial regulations to allow the works to be ordered and complete rapidly. That is the primary reason. The number of the bits of equipment that we need to order do have a lead-in time of 3 weeks. And so we really just want to push on with the works. And so that's why you have that supplementary update to the report and a request to consider that recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Andy.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just I want to raise a point about the incursions and some of the resident reactions to as a result of some of that there. Now, like Yew Tree Park. Now, the car park there, we lock the gate at night, don't we? We don't lock the gate at night.
But it has a height restriction barrier.
Right, so one of the complaints from the resident then is that and found it because he's saying that when we lock the car park, it causes problems on Plantagenet Chase and just off the Burnham Way, which is the first bit off the Plantagenet Chase, which is 1, 2, 3, about 8 houses.
Yeah.
Now he's claiming that when we lock the gates there, it causes problems with parking because residents actually park in the car park.
Yeah.
And he said it's causing problems from people leaving the cul-de-sac. Well,
we don't, as a normal course of action, we do not close the gate from the highway into the car park.
right,
We
so
only close it if we get warning that there's a group on the move.
because we were paying to have that secured every night, weren't we, at one time too, on a service level agreement, weren't we? Way back when.
I think Carl's got an answer to
It was South Somerset District used to pay but be closed.
Yeah, but this has come over to the new council as
Yeah.
well, actually. 'Cause we had this discussion some time ago, didn't we?
Yeah.
So just for clarity, we're not locking it, only when we get notice of an incursion, possible incursion.
Correct.
But it's locked at the
But
moment.
it is currently closed because of course they broke in, removed bollards, so the whole site is vulnerable.
Yeah.
But what we're doing is making sure that if you're into the car park, there's still a good line of defence. There is another gate that you have to open if you want to drive on.
Yeah.
And there is a height restriction barrier at the highway entrance, which is a really good deterrent if they don't break the padlock, which they did. They
Right, so the new measures, Katie, that we're going to put in, we're going to
Yep.
put bollards where?
on the internal layer on the other side of the car park.
Yeah,
So that even if they got into the car park,
yeah,
if you didn't get there to close it in time.
Yeah.
You can't get through.
right, okay.
Help?
Yeah, that does help, that's fine, because like I said, the resident hasn't contacted me directly, just put something onto Facebook, and actually it's a former councillor of.
Amanda picked this up.
So I have emailed him with the details that Katie has said today.
Right, okay, that's fine.
So it's probably causing issues right now because the car park is shut. But
Get that.
we aim to resolve that by the end of this week.
Well, they're just gonna have to be careful, aren't they? There's no parking restrictions there at all, so. They'll just have to be very careful when they come out of there.
Tony.
Yeah. Can I just have a little bit of excellent.
And no, everyone should-
opportunity, especially regarding the in-room stuff and what have you. Because many residents now are saying about the state of the tubs around the town.
Yeah.
Now, I realise they are not the Old Town Council's responsibility. They are Somerset Council. Am I correct?
Yes, some of them are. We have a few, but most of them are Somerset councils. And if it's all right, Somerset Council have asked us to provide support and they will be paying for us to replant them.
Yeah, because I mean, to be honest with you, people think it's the town council.
Yeah.
And when you've got pictures like that, it's pretty dire of the tubs around. And that is in the borough,
Yeah,
where
those,
we get the bulk of our people.
to be very fair, Tony, those are probably ours. It's just that we are currently taking out winter and putting in summer.
Appreciate them.
just give us another week and a half and we'll be there. So I saw a picture of in Bloom 2 years ago and there was a row of 4 gardeners and we've got 1. So it's just about a bit of a jigsaw.
I appreciate what you're saying, we're changing the way we're doing it, but I'm saying perhaps we ought to communicate that more to people, because as it was mentioned earlier
Yeah,
by Councillor Saunton, using road tubs, they look dire. You know, and it's doesn't help when it's not our responsibility, but we're getting the blame.
Yeah.
And regarding the graffiti which was mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
that is Tabernacle Lane. Now, I appreciate that's not our responsibility, it's not, I don't know whether it's Somerset Council's, it's the person, the property owner's responsibility to remove it. I think it only gets removed by the authorities if it's offensive. Perhaps,
we had a response from Somerset Council this morning to saying that a team was going down there to look at the graffiti, so they are looking at it. But apologies, I missed it. I walked past it and I could see old graffiti had been covered. So that's why my confusion.
No, it doesn't matter, but we know,
Somerset Council are on the case by the sounds of it.
they're on the case. And I mean, they're on the case of a lot of things which don't seem to get overlooked, and I'll be honest with you. I had a stage where I think I was down Taunton the other day, and you drive around the streets and things look a lot different to what they are in the Oval. I think we should start asking the question, are we being shortchanged in the Oval? Sorry.
Oh,
That's my mission.
Carl, first of all, then I come back to Andy.
Is yours same as what Tony was talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, you go. Okay.
Just with Councillor Locke's information, I have a meeting scheduled with Mike Rigby and officers to discuss certain items. One being the triangle, the fountains. Secondly, the use of the triangle, and thirdly, the meanwhile space. So yes, as it's in my division, yes, I have requested that meeting with him, both as a Somerset councillor and as leader of Yeovil Town Council, because I totally agree with you. There are certain things happening now that if those facilities were installed, they would be running. Considering they're not. So I have requested a meeting.
Okay.
Chairman, just one other item. Take it through you, and you have to take the answer. The Bermuda Triangle. Who's responsible for all the planting in the shrubs in the Bermuda Triangle?
Councillor Locke, where's the Bermuda Triangle?
Right.
No, it's fine again.
National Tires.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
That is
Actually
the
called-
Bermuda Triangle, where you've got the crossings and the lights.
It's not us.
I've worked there for 27 years, I never heard that. Did I? Yeah.
That is overgrown, and you know, that's something which needs to be highlighted to the Highways Authority as well, because they need to cut that back if it's their responsibility.
I'll come back to you in a minute, Dave, I just got.
It's known as the Bermuda Triangle.
Okay. I'll escalate that one.
Yeah, just a quick thing. It's I know me and Katie, you spoke about it before about the it's your neighbourhood. It's great to see an increase in 8 from last year. Just a quick thing. How are we promoting it? How can we promote it better to get more people to join it? Because it would be great if more people were getting in on it.
That's a really, really fair comment, actually. So the Parks Engagement Officer is responsible for coordinating, contacting, and making sure that IYNs is a thing across the town. So it's places like the Hospital Dementia Garden have come back in this year. Brookie Bridge have come back in this year, but we've got 2 new care homes that are in as well. So it's really nice. Publicity is a fair comment. Leave it with me. It's a really fair comment.
Okay, because it's just that I haven't seen anything, and if I haven't seen anything, or is anyone else seeing it? Because I know about it, but I'm not seeing anything.
I think probably you only find it if you're kind of roughly on the periphery of growing horticulture gardening in Yeovil. So that's really fair. Thank you.
Dave and Andy, and then we're going to start moving this one on.
Okay, just going back to the so-called Bermuda Triangle. I've been down there, I've taken some photos, I've reported online to Highways with my Somerset Council hat on. And I've asked them about the frequency at which the growth is cut back and if whether it's part of an ongoing management process sequence. And as soon as I got an answer, I'll report back on that.
I know I used to work there for a long time, as everybody knows, and I always we used to cut the trees down where we do the scrap tyres. We used to cut the trees down from underneath. They didn't know it, but we had to be able to see. We couldn't see our signs when you were coming down the road or anything like that. So
I have to say on the day I visited, which was the 31st of May, it wasn't as bad as the resident who reported it to me inferred. In fact, I could only see one section of it, which was actually obstructing the view of the traffic, and it's the
one on the corner as you go around by the light. Yeah.
So anyway, when I get an answer back,
it'd be good. Thank you.
Sorry,
Andy.
It'll be 6 months. I've got two questions. One is why wooden bollards? I got here.
Yeah. Sorry, in the supplementary report.
Allingham Road, put two wooden bollards in. Surely that's a temptation for someone to quickly drop, or why got that wrong?
Oh, is that?
That's on Milford Park.
Oh, right, yes, sorry, because that's what was already there.
Right.
And they are really solid and they are very effective. It's just that there was too big a gap and you could potentially have squeezed a vehicle through. So we've just closed the gap by adding to an existing line of wooden bollards. Yeah.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
The other one is the rough sleepers.
Yes.
I don't know of many rough sleepers in Yeovil. I sit on the homeless reduction board for Somerset, and I keep going to these meetings and saying, look, I don't know. I used to walk around a lot and talk to rough sleepers. I don't know. Is there many? Can you tell me there's many in Yeovil? I don't know who you report to. Or who.
We report to Somerset Council because they still own the land.
Yeah.
And we've had rough sleepers at College Green, in the Memorial Arboretum at Nine Springs, down at the ski centre, Riverside Park in Yeovil Country Park, and Century Park as well. They move around.
So it's mostly down there, not up country, up Yeovil country, but up. That's fine. I was just curious where the main focus was.
Thank you. Casey, thank you for the report. It's amazing, really. The information and the hard work you've put into that. I thank you from the chair. Yeah. So from the report, that's just noted. Everybody happy to note?
Yeah.
And then you got the service update, supplementary update. Everybody read? Everybody agree? We need to note the report. And to agree to grant the dispensation from permanent requirements set out within the council's financial regulations. And to agree the commissioning the work from the supplier. Do we need a show of hands or just?
Yes.
Everybody in agreement to support recommendations? Yeah, that's unanimous.
Andy voted? Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, 11 oblique 325, procurement approach at the Milford Play area. To consider a report by Director, Leisure Environment, attached page 7 to 19. And over to you again.
I am sure that members are aware of the failure of the play castle in the large play area at Milford Park. What has happened is that the large concrete pad that supports the castle has cracked. meaning that the castle is not safe to be opened. And the reason the pad has cracked is because there is some subsidence in the earth bund that it all sits on top of. We've closed the play castle because you cannot safely access it, and that has been completed with terrace fencing. What we propose in this report is removal of the castle and replacement with a new play feature. This report sets out how we wish to separate the decommissioning and the installation of the new play features as two separate procurement items. We carried out a substantial, in the main, the estates manager has carried out substantial scoping and market testing to understand the estimates for the two pieces of work so that we know roughly the ballpark figures we're working with. Phase one that we're suggesting is requesting fixed price quotes and accepting the best value price across the criteria that are listed in the report to decommission the existing castle. We wish to progress this as soon as possible to clear the site, to open the land ready for the main school summer holidays so that we don't have closed and potentially dangerous play feature in the middle of the play area. Procurement of a new structure would follow, and it would need to follow a request for quotation process against an issued specification, and I've set out things that we are suggesting for that in the report. We wish to include consultation with local children to make sure that we're actually resourcing something that the children want in their site to play on and in. And we would propose carrying out that consultation across the main school summer holidays up at Milford and across the play days that the community wardens are organising. After issuing an RFQ, a request for quotation, submissions will be evaluated against the criteria as set out in the report. So things like safety, design quality, durability, cost, obviously, reputation and maintenance requirements. Having undertaken market research, we propose setting an upper budget of £60,000 for the new play feature. Confirmation of appointment of any contractor would return to this committee due to the level of spend. To fund these works, we would like to make use of the play reserve, and we have also applied to Somerset Council for some Section 106 funds that are suitable to go against the project up at Milford. I think that's it for now. These questions.
Can I, from the chair, just ask, the deterioration of this castle hasn't happened overnight, has it?
No.
Is there no way that we could go back to Somerset Council and ask if they can contribute, or I feel that they've sold us a bad apple?
There was nothing, sorry, I don't know what the committee's view will be. There was nothing in the play inspection reports that when it came across to us.
So was that missed?
That's
my question.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it wasn't, so there's twice weekly inspections because it's one of the big three in Yeovil, one of the really heavily used areas. So there'll be twice weekly inspections, quarterly and annual. There was nothing on the inspection reports that came across. So I would imagine it would be, they wouldn't pick up.
No, it's just frustration from our end. We've taken over that, Andy.
Yeah, thank you, I take your point. Obviously question to Kate, who does these inspections? Or who was doing those inspections?
So the annual inspections were by the Play Inspection Company, which is the same company that we're using.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Nobody else? I'll go to Adrian.
Yeah. I think my question basically follows on from Councillor Sorton's point, really. Was reading through the report, it suggests that, when we took over responsibility, our inspections found that this issue was there. So my question is, who has actually said that the structure itself and the facility is unsafe? That's the first question. And two, if it's the same organisation that was doing the inspections on behalf of South Somerset Council,
Somerset.
Apologies. On behalf of Somerset Council before us, isn't there a record there? As in, could we ask them to see whether or not those inspections showed up any issues pre? Two questions really.
Yeah, the external reports are annual. So, we've got the last 2 years from us, and nothing was declared at the point of transfer the year before that, and it was the same company that undertook the inspections. They flagged something, sorry, they were done in August. So in August 25, they flagged some issues, and one of our estates officers is this play specialist, and has a huge amount of knowledge and actually is qualified to carry out play inspections himself. And so I trust his judgment. And our estates manager has construction experience as well. And therefore, it's their opinion that it's not fixable and that we should start again.
Okay.
Sorry, Chair.
Andy.
So sorry, are these people qualified in
Yes.
assessing ground subsidence and the sort of things that I'm reading in the report? What I'm reading in the report is that the issues here are relating to ground excuse me, sorry, ground subsidence issues and cracks in concrete. So I accept there's what I'm asking, is there a difference between the qualifications and experience of someone experienced in monitoring equipment such as slides and swings, and an individual qualified to say that the ground here and the concrete is unsafe and therefore the structure is unsafe? Because it's a lot of money here to go on the back of evidence that I'm just questioning. I'm not saying it's not right. I'm questioning, have we had the right assessment done? In terms of
it's not the ground that's subsided, it's the earth mound. So the whole thing has been built on a mound which has now dropped, and therefore that has cracked and gone down in. So everything above it is no longer safe. We have to take that away. We can't mend, we can't reuse everything that's above. And so, you know, we wouldn't want to reuse the earth mound. We probably would just take that down. We'd take that down to ground level and then build up something new. So I understand what you're saying, but we can see that the concrete pad has done that. I do appreciate what you're saying in terms of engineering, but it's very obvious that the mound has done that and the concrete pad has therefore done that, which means that everything on top is doing the same.
Andy, did you want to come in? Something
He asked, do you get the previous report before we were responsible for having it? You said it's the same person.
I can ask, yeah.
Has he got a copy of this previous report?
I would have to go through Somerset Council, but I can ask.
Yeah, that's what I was taking, what he was asking.
Yes, these things don't typically happen overnight. No, just they happen to show their face when we turn up on watch, sort of thing. I think, yeah. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Quickly.
Yeah, just following on from Adrian. I mean, I think he's alluded to it's a sudden deterioration in over 2 years. You know, it should have been noticed before, and it's a bit of concern that we're using the same company who possibly should. I'm not saying they should have, possibly should have, could have, or should have. I don't know.
No, Andy.
Yeah, I disagree. Things do happen overnight for a certain circumstance, and if you remember back, the amount of rain that we had earlier on this year, and you've only got to look at Hedford Hill as an example of what happens overnight when you get months and months of rain that can actually wash out and cause these problems. So yeah, unfortunately, sometimes they do. Sometimes they're progressive. But until something actually cracks and goes, you don't know. That's the physical evidence where it's there, it's cracked. So it could have been happening for many, many years, just hasn't cracked. Same as Hedford Hill, you got a landslip, you got a huge amount of rain at the beginning part of this year.
I think that was a good debate about that. I'm a mechanic and car things just happen like that. You can have an MOT, I know I'm just going around and you have an MOT one day, next day that component can fail. It's a similar thing. Things, as I said, Andy, things fail with the weather conditions we have in this country. So anyway, moving on, we're going to have to decide what we're doing with this one. Note the report, we've noted it, yeah? To agree with the Director of Leisure Environment progress the project.
I'll propose that.
Yeah. Do I have a seconder? Agreement on that? 3, to note the approach for decommissioning and removal work of the current Milford Play Castle. Noted. And to note the procurement approach for the new play feature at Milford Play area with the final confirmation of appointment to return to committee for approval.
Noted.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
We're going to look into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Previous report, yeah.
Lots of bit feelings for that on there. Moving on, 11 oblique 326 outturn report for 2025-26 to consider the outturn position for 25-26 and to recommend to executive transfers to and from reserves for Leisure Environment Committee attached page 20 to 25. Is this a noting or?
There's a bit of explanation as well.
Okay. Yeah, okay, over to Amanda.
Okay, so leisure and environment budget, and actually it was underspent by, writing so small now, that's what it used to be, just under 150,000. There was an underspend, and what we're proposing is that some of that goes into reserves to put into reserves to fund projects like the Milford Castle, and also to have there for the recreation centre, and be aware that there will be an expense in a few years' time for the athletics track that we'll be needing to replace. So rather than come to you for the full sum at the time, it's prudent to ensure that you've put some each year to build up that fund. You can just see within the second to last column, there's some ins and outs. So we've used some reserves to pay for some vehicles and plans, but at the same time, we're asking for any underspends in particular areas to cover future expenditure for largely capital equipment, goods in the future. If you agree to this amount that we're asking for, that still leaves an underspend to this committee of just over 22,000, and that will go back into reserves. I think what that also shows is that's a good budget that this committee set. You do expect underspend, and it's just an example of some work that probably hasn't been done why it is slightly larger, which is why we want to put some into the reserve. So if you're all happy, that would be a good idea. And then if you look on page 25, it will just give you an idea of those reserves that really to this committee. And you can see what's currently there at the moment. So in terms of the allotment SALT grant, that is specific for the allotments for all that Katie has mentioned, and that money actually isn't ours. We would have to pay that back if we weren't going to use it. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have on that report.
From the chair, I'll go to Tony in a second, but some committee members possibly don't like us to the underspends, so they put it back in. But I feel that with the unknowns, we weren't sure what was happening with this committee and this expenditure, obviously, of this castle and things like that. I feel that the budget was done well, as you said, and an underspend at this appropriate time would be better to put back in rather than to go and ask for more money down the line. Yeah, that's just from the chair's point of view, but it's not my decision. It's all you guys. Tony.
But on the lines there, it's through you to ask the officer, mentioned about a sum being put aside periodically for the athletics track. Will that be ring fenced for that particular, which could be a massive item?
So we have an earmarked reserve specifically for the Yeovil Recreation Centre sinking fund.
Yeah, I got to admit, I am looking at that.
The majority of that will be for the athletics track, but there may be some calls upon it for the
Which line is that, sorry, Sharon?
Page 25.
Yeah.
If you look down, this up from the bottom, this is a recreation.
Yeah, the rec,
fund, yeah.
Fine, no, fine, thank you very much.
Andy, is it a question on the report or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I asked this question 4 months ago about the security, fire and security. We're paying a hell of a lot for one cafe, which is a lot smaller than the other cafe, which is we're paying not a lot for. there seems to be a lot of differential. You're going to get in contact with the company and ask for a breakdown of these prices.
That security is for the whole John O'Donnell building, isn't it? And it's a more complicated security method because of the various zones that there are down at the cafe, the building down at Nine Springs Country Park. So if you think about the building at Nine Springs, it's a square building which is either open or it's closed. Whereas with regards to the John O'Donnell building, you've got the community room which could be open whilst the rest of the building isn't open. You've got the cafe which can be open. You've got various different spots around that building which can be open in isolation. So you need a more complicated system.
Yeah, there's access control throughout the John O'Donnell Pavilion, and there's exterior seating.
Near there, I'll just say that Nine Springs Cafe, which is nowhere near there, cost 1,000, God knows what pounds. Anyway, but I've got your answer. If you're happy, then my other one is you pay DVLA £247. I don't know why.
To register 2 new mowers for the.
Thank you. That's it. And purchases of new vehicles. Have we got these new vehicles?
They are actually mowers, but they're because they're roadworthy mowers. They're called vehicles.
Just how I read it.
Yeah.
Hiring vehicles and we're purchasing new vehicles. So we're hiring cars and purchasing
mowers.
Thank you. That makes that sense to me. So I'm a little thick on that, that's all. Sydney Gardens Fountains. We spent nothing on it last year, nothing on it this year. Or going to spend nothing on this year. Why is that still in the report?
So if I can draw your attention back to when we looked at the reserves, it's not for the fountain, it's for Sydney Gardens as a whole, because Katie has a volunteer team there that will be called upon to give help with that there for tools and for assistance to.
We want to look at heritage interpretation.
I understand. Should that not be renamed? Not fountain?
Which budget is that on? It's just
Sydney Gardens Fountain.
I think that's just an oversight.
I understand that, but shouldn't it be renamed then?
It should be, yes.
Okay. I wonder what about electricity, but electricity is going to be going up. And we've got plans for especially the wreck at the cafe from 2000 and
May I give them a standard response on that? We're aware that electricity.
I know, I think that council is aware that electricity is going to be costing more. We know it's going to cost them more. In theory, we're sat here doing nothing, but maybe we are doing something. But
we have limited resources, and I can tell you that Milford Hall, that will be having the solar panels put on, and we.
I'm not talking.
I know, we're going to be learning from what Milford Hall to what to do on the other side.
I pulled up last meeting about that's not a town council building. I don't know. Have we taken over the rec and the country park?
It's all for us to take over. We haven't taken over the freehold yet.
I'm not really talking about it. I think that's it. That's it for now.
Andy.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that we are looking into, and the CEO barely saying we are looking into several projects with solar panels, but it's not as straightforward as you would think. And I'll say no more on that.
Okay.
We are looking into different buildings, different things with solar panels. So it's not straightforward.
All right. Maybe from the committee, Adrian.
Yeah, so on the outcome report, I've just got a comment here which stuck out like a sort of thumb initially to me, but I think we've already discussed one and whatnot. But our reserve essentially for play, correct me if I'm wrong, was 40k. We are now backfilling that, or should I say, we're bolstering that, and we're putting in £70,000 to essentially get us through the Milford Park issue. My comment is that our reserve for play has been shot through the water almost 3 times. So one issue was essentially wiped us out and requested essentially the influx of twice the reserve just to get us out. Now, given that we've got lots of other assets in our town, I'm worried, but what else could go next? Now I can see, and it's good to see that we've got sinking fund for the running track. That's good planning. But these costs for a play feature are not insignificant. Now I get we have to do it. But my issue is that it worries me that the exposure that this small council has got to, right, with devolution, and we are seeing the impact of that, which is why these assets should be funded by a regional district. That's all I'm going to say. It worries me as a resident and as a taxpayer of this town. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian.
So this is exactly the reason why we have the £40,000 in each year, which we're going to put forward. It just happens a particular area of spend is significant in reality to what other areas of spend would be. I think we have to be very mindful of our risk appetite of accidents that could happen if we don't put right. And it's your choice as members whether you want us to do that or not, and also whether you want the projects to go ahead or not. So we can just bring the ideas to you, and it will be the responsibility of the committee to decide whether they feel there is enough money to do this or not. So as I said, we're in a position this year that we have quite a large underspend, and I feel that we should be putting that in the reserve to cover these one-offs. And I feel that we may, and probably wrong for me to say it, we probably have a better appetite for risk. So we will do those inspections and look at it with a better view as to whether we see that as a risk or not. As you can imagine, with risks, it's quite subjective, isn't it? What you might see as a risk could be very different to how somebody else does it. So I think we're erring on the side of caution to be able to make sure that we're doing everything we reasonably can to ensure the safety of the users.
Thank you, Amanda. Andy, then Tony, then I'm going to move on.
Yeah, just very quickly, really. This authority is great. It's taken on a lot of projects through devolution. Quite simply, they're not a regional responsibility anymore. They're the responsibility of this authority. Had this authority not taken on some of those projects through devolution, they wouldn't exist to the public anymore. Nine Springs would not be open to the public anymore, not being maintained. The recreation ground would not be being maintained. The heritage collection would not be there. And Westlands entertainment venue would not be there. So this authority has responsibility for those now, and it has to budget for that responsibility. It's not any longer anything to do with Somerset Council, it's to do with this authority. Going back to the thing at Milford, there's a problem with it, so we need to clear that problem, get rid of it, because it's dangerous. The next steps will come back to the committee for approval as to whether we put anything there or we don't. And that's down to cost, and that's down to the members to decide that, as the CEO has just said. Thank you.
Tony.
My thing there is, what I was going to say has been partly answered by Andy there, because yes, we've got to make it safe. We've got a lot of play areas around. We have to prioritise and look at what we've got to do in other play areas to see whether the cost is worth it in Milford Park to do that, which is exactly what Andy has just said. So my question's been answered. It's still no different. We still have to look at all the play areas in the round and what we've got to pay. Though the district used to contribute a little bit towards it, we did that before, and not all the play areas had their things done that they wanted to, but we have to prioritise it.
Tony.
That's the decision made. It's not a nice to do thing now, it's what's practical in the round for all of the areas which you've got to maintain. Thank you.
Thank you. From the chair, I'm just going to ask a question. I just want to note this report, which we've been at, but this is not to do with this report, because Andy's just touched on it about the heritage collection. We took that over, but am I aware, or have I dreamt that the heritage collection can't be visited no more because it's an unsafe building? Is that another bad apple we've taken on?
So if I can add.
Sorry, but if I'm speaking out of turn there, but I feel.
So I think it's important to realise that we were only going to have the Lufton site for a maximum of 5 years anyway, because that's all the licence to occupy was, and we would have found ourselves in a position where we would have to go to another building. The site is unsafe at the moment, and I think that's come from a different view on risk again.
Yeah.
By Somerset Council, who now see that the way that the building is actually structured makes it quite unsafe because it's not compartmentalised.
Yeah, I understand why it's not.
So yes, we have had to take the decision for it to not be available to the members, to the public, but we are working on another solution so that we can again take that front facing. I think with any asset that we have taken on from Somerset Council, it was sold as seen.
Yeah.
And so unfortunately there will be some things that will be at risk, and that unfortunately was one of them.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you. Moving on. We done that one, haven't we?
So consider, and then you need to recommend to executive.
Yeah, so to consider the outcome and recommend to the executive. Everybody, have I got a proposer, seconder? Who recommend? Dave, everybody in support? Unanimous, thank you. We're on this one now, aren't we?
Yeah, budget monitoring update.
Yeah, right. Sorry, I've lost my safe there. 11 oblique 327, budget monitoring update. To consider the budget monitoring update month to April 26 to May 26, attached at page 26 to 30.
Moment, and I will caveat this in a moment, we are predicting an underspend of 370,000 at the end of this year, but I've just had a quick look through and I can see some errors in terms of what that potential outturn report would be. So if you look at, I will take you through some examples of that, see some errors to be under the Rec Cafe for wages. I don't believe that we've made the right estimate for the year's amount. We've only done the 2 months. So on page 29, Rec Cafe, which says we've spent 15,000 to date, and there's an estimate for the year of 15,000. Then that's not gonna happen because we will have total wages for another 10 months through the year. And also the same as for provisions, we've had an expenditure for the 2 months of 15,000, and again it hasn't been extrapolated to include a full year's expenditure. So I've just done some quick sums, so I see that we're estimating an underspend of about 200,000 at the moment, and I'll ensure that I look through this before the meeting so that you have the accurate response. In fairness to the team, this was done at quite a bit of speed because of the other financial reports, which are obviously of more importance in order for us to do the outturn position and also to do our AGAR. So I will make sure that the team have a better check and validation process for that in future. So apologies for that.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee?
Yeah, I've got 2. Yeah.
Andy?
On page 26, I mean, they part programme. Nothing happened last year. Nothing happened this year.
So the part of the programme, that line, that's your zeros, Andy, that I know you don't like being in there. There's zeros for all of that. I would refer you to the play area upgrade above, which will be a play area upgrade above, which we would use rather than the play park programme. So there's a bit of fine tuning to take out lines that are no longer required.
A quick question. To do with what I was on about earlier, but I just want to answer this on page 29. Electricity. Might be reading this wrong. You've got a budget for the year 5,400, correct?
That's correct, yes. So what's happened there? We haven't received any invoices, so this is another thing where we haven't predicted correctly through the year.
So we understand.
You will be having some expenditure. There's no way that the Rec Cafe wouldn't be having any electricity expenditure.
Okay. So I just, it doesn't make sense to me that.
And there's an explanation why it hasn't been done correctly.
We have that put in the explanation with the next one.
Sorry?
The explanation we put in.
So what we're trying to do, and as I've explained, I would like notes for things of major significance that you need to be aware of, and I think in that particular one it's been an overlook that actually we should have actually spent and it hasn't. So we'll make sure that this is
I'm not being picky, I'm just.
No, absolutely. I've kind of, as I said, I've quickly looked at it this evening, and that's the first time I've looked at it, and there's glaring errors that needed to be.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Happy to note the report. Moving on to 11/328, exclusion of press and public. I don't really need to read that. Steve, I'd like to apologise. I didn't invite you in at the beginning as any public comment. I'll give you your chance now.